מזמור לדוד, אדוני אלוהי אלוהי אכסר, בנותש יביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישבר, ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צוררי, דשנת ושם ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני ליורך ימים.
As Cantor Schiffman began our service chanting Psalm 23 in the Hebrew, I ask you to join with me in the English, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We gather this morning to share words of praise, of honor, and thanks, as we recall with great affection a beloved wife, a beloved mother, a beloved grandmother, a beloved Gigi, great-grandmother, a beloved sister, a beloved aunt and friend, Sally Turbow, a woman who lived a wonderful, long life, filled with such kindness and love. Our Bible teaches these words, L'chol eit zaman, v'chol eit chefetz tachat hashemayim. A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for planting and a time for reaping, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for embracing and a time for refraining, a time for laughing and a time for weeping, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking, a time for silence, a time for seeking, and a time for losing. Our beloved Sally has departed this world. She leaves a good name and so much love at the age of 93. Sally has left behind many in mourning, her son Larry and daughter-in-law, not just daughter-in-law Arlene, her son Robert, Bob, who devoted these last so many years to taking care of Mom, to the apples of her eye, her grandchildren, to Jeff and Carrie, to Carrie and Andrew, to Lindsay and David, and to the diamonds in her crown, her great-grandchildren, Hudson and Dylan and Drew and William and Samuel and Jordan, and cherished nieces and nephews. Sally now joins her beloved Donald, her high school sweetheart, married for more than 57 years. She rejoins her parents, Joseph and Madeline Finger, her sister Betty. She rejoins them all in their eternal home in heaven. At this point, the family has prepared a few tributes. And first, I'll call up her son, Larry.
Thank you all for coming today. I'm kind of wondering what the over-under is. on me getting through this speech. After all, I'm the guy who cries in TV commercials. Excuse me. Today is a real passage in the life of my family and me. The last remaining member of the greatest generation in our family is gone. No parents, no aunts or uncles are left. No one to remind us of a time when my parents really had to struggle during the Depression and World War II. There's no better person in the world than my mom. She often said that she was placed on this earth to care for others. She never put herself first. Her joy and fulfillment came from taking care of others. Our family came to her home weekly for Sunday night dinners and holidays. Even in her late years, after she lost her sight and other roadblocks in her life, she only thought of others. During my dad's final illness, few people know that she developed some sort of a problem in her abdomen. She knew that there was something there, but she would not go to the doctor. She wouldn't go to the doctor because she knew that she would need surgery. She would not be able to care for my dad. It turned out that she had a large tumor on her spleen. She had lymphoma, but this was not going to stop or slow her down. One of the most amazing attributes that my mom had was the fact that no matter what happened, what someone did or didn't do, she only saw the best in people. To her, no one was uncaring. She never gave up on anyone. She never missed an opportunity to compliment us. On virtually every occasion, she would look at Arlene and say how nice she looked. Are you wearing something new? This was her way of giving a compliment. My mom had some very close friends, and she was loyal to them. I think that in her last years, much of her suffering was the fact that she had outlived her many friends. A very dark moment in her life was when she lost her closest friend, and Eileen. There was no one left for mahjong and canasta games. One of my oldest friends, Steve, told me yesterday that he was sure that now the $3 poverty mahjong game would now begin again, only this time in heaven. As Jews, we may not believe in heaven or hell, but there is no question, if such a place exists, Sally Turbow is wearing a tiara in heaven. Now, a word about my brother Bob. My mom was steadfast that she would never go live in a senior citizen's home. When her health started to decline, it was Bob who lived with her, helped her in many ways, and made sure that she was cared for. I think despite what she said, she would not have been able to live independently without Bob. He was there for her, and at times she did not make it easy for him. I'll never know all the things that he did for her, but I know without him, she would not have been able to continue to live on her own. I owe him my most sincere gratitude. Family was everything. This Thanksgiving was her curtain call. Though she wasn't able to come to dinner, she was able to see and visit one last time with all the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. Jeff and his family had come in for the holidays, and she loved seeing and spending time with them. We truly believe that she held on to life until after this last visit from them, as well as from Carrie and Lindsay and their families. With that, she allowed herself to move on and finally be at peace. Thank you all.
Maybe. Right. My grandmother was the rock of this family. She was everything. She loved us beyond belief, and some of my finest childhood memories is just going to her house and having a sleepover with my pink, silky princess blanket that I found out last night we think was hers as a little girl, so she was everything. She would always write all of these poems, and it was always from memory. Not many of them were ever written down. Over the last few years, we got a few of them recorded, but the one I'm about to read to you, she wrote for me for my 3rd birthday. And then gave it to me for my 19th. If you ever knew, she always wanted a girl. She had 2 fantastic sons, and they meant the world to her. But, okay. If you ever had a dream come true, you'll notice how I feel. I sometimes have to pinch myself to make sure that it's real. For my dream about a little girl came true 3 years ago, and ever since that day, I'm sure I have that special glow. For many years, I fantasized, and I'll tell you that it's scary, because that perfect little dream girl turned out to be you, Carrie. Your hair is long and silky with soft, natural curls, that kind everyone hopes for when they think of little girls. Your eyes are huge and deep, deep blue, your lashes sweep your cheek. When you look at me in your special way, you make my knees go weak. Your every gesture is graceful, you're tiny and petite. Your disposition sunny, you're agreeable and sweet. She must not know me now. You're affectionate and cuddly. You love to hug and kiss. As far as I'm concerned, my love, you're a perfect little miss. So happy birthday, Carrie. I just hope you won't be miffed, because although today's your birthday, Grandma Sally got the gift. So it's definitely not the I thought and I pondered poems that we all know and love, but I wish I had more of these written down.
Grandma Sally Ann Turbow, knee finger, was the definition of family. In elementary school, I was given an assignment to put an individual on the wall of respect who inspired you, and I chose my grandma. I wrote about her kindness, her unrestricted love, how caring she was, and how to her, family was everything. She adored every single family member and supported you no matter what the situation was. Her 2 sons 3 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren are what kept her going until the very end. You could do no wrong in her eyes, unless, of course, you were too busy for Friday or Sunday night dinner. Her and my grandfather, Don, were always there. They would always show up. They came to every event, always in the stands, cheering on their boys and their grandkids. She valued traditions like weekend dinners, holiday dinners, making her special checkerboard birthday cakes, which we still do today, hosting us grandkids for sleepovers on Christmas Eve. Grandma was a great cook. She made her famous mashed potatoes, matzo ball soup, brisket, smoked turkey, knishes, farfalle. The dinners at her house were always special and delicious. Luckily, we still have some of these recipes, and we always try to match her skill. Grandma's grandparents immigrated to the U.S., and that is when her original last name of Fingeroff was shortened to Finger. She always said that someone in her family must have been missing a finger, as people used to be named for their professions, physical traits, or where they lived. She was known as Little Finger, as she was younger than her beloved sister Betty. That is, until she became a Turbow. My grandma and grandpa started dating when grandma was just 13 years old, then continued while grandpa went into the Navy. Then they married and had 2 boys, whom she stayed home to raise. While she was no longer working outside of the home, she had her favorite job in the world, which was caring for others and helping grandpa with the books for Turbow plumbing. When my dad and uncle got older, she started to volunteer with Meals on Wheels, True Sisters, and at the gift shop at Hillcrest for over 30 years, fulfilling her purpose in life, which was to care for others. Grandma Sally was so strong. So strong and so smart. She loved to read. It did not matter the type of book, she would just read. When her eyesight got bad, she could read on a Kindle or an iPad, and while only a few words could fit on the screen, she was still able to read. Her and my grandfather loved to go to the beach, the pool, and go to the Breakers Hotel at Cedar Point every summer. She loved the water, and that's probably why her favorite color was blue. She was a skilled poet, as you heard. She would write poems to mark occasions, but also just because. While she rarely wrote them down, she could recite the poems years later from memory. We luckily have a few on video. Grandma was known as Gigi to her great-grandkids, and she adored them. She was happiest when she saw her family members smiling, and especially if she got a cuddle or a hug from anyone, especially one of her great-grandchildren. She was a caretaker, the glue of the family, the Turbow matriarch. She was perfect. She will truly be missed, and we pray that she is at peace with her husband, her sister, her parents, and her friends. We will miss you, and we love you.
Lindsay, Carrie, and Larry, amazing, beautiful tributes. The rabbis say in Hebrew, Devarim sheyotzim melev neknasim belev, which means words that come from the heart enter all of our hearts. Sally had such a big heart, and you brought her into our hearts with amazing, heartfelt tributes and memories. I know last night when we sat together, there were such incredible memories, but also a lot of emotion. She really was the best. There's a tradition every Friday night that a husband, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren bless their mother, their wife, their grandmother, their great-grandmother, with a passage from the Bible known as Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, a woman of strength. I think that really speaks to our beloved Sally, so I'd like to read a portion of it. Eshet Chayil miyubsa v'rachab mipnei michra, bata bale bala v'shala lo yichzar. What a precious find is a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no thing. She's good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens up her hand to the needy. She extends her hand to the poor. She's clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household. She never eats the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband praises her, saying, many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-fearing woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand, and whenever people gather, her deeds shall speak her praise. Sally was a gute neshama. She had a kind and sweet soul, non-judgmental, selfless. As you heard, a woman who lived to care for others. She'd give you the world if she could. She always saw the best in people. She exuded positivity and strength. She was the matriarch, the woman with the biggest heart. She was a classic Jewish mother. She was always a worrier, but always there for you. As you said, she was the glue of the family. Family was everything for her. Born and raised a Clevelander, Sally grew up in Glenville. And as you heard, it was there that she met her high school sweetheart, Don. She did go to Heights High for her senior year, where she graduated. And after graduation, she worked as a dental assistant and then for the Veterans Administration, until little Larry came along. She did help Don when he opened that storefront in Bedford, the Bedford version of Bed Bath & Beyond, selling towels and bathroom amenities, always helping Don with his work at Turbow Plumbing. And as you heard, they were married on October 25th, 1947 at Fenway Hall in Cleveland. It was normal for them to just take a long drive. Maybe take the boys and go to Niagara Falls just for the day or for dinner. Perhaps to go to the deli in Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh for the day, or to Monroeville and back home. They loved going to movies, to theater, going out to dinner, the beaches, driving down to Florida, and the trips to the Catskills with Arlene's parents. They raised Larry and Bob on Eastwood and Mayfield Heights in a wonderful neighborhood. And then when Larry was to begin high school, the family moved to Summerfield in University Heights, where they lived for so many years. For that house in University Heights, she loved to sit in the yard, to feed the birds and the squirrels, and to care for her plants. She was the perfect mother. She took care of you, as you heard from Larry. She loved to cook, always there for you. Neither of your parents were college educated. Mom went to work, Dad went into the Navy. It was very important for both of them that their children have a proper education and go to college. And Larry and Bob, you certainly have done that and made your mom so proud. You already heard she was the ultimate grandmother. Grandma Sally never turned down an opportunity to babysit the grandkids, except if it was on a canasta or Maj Day. She loved to feed you, to watch you at games and concerts. She loved playing Scrabble with you or playing cards. And Lindsay mentioned, I think, the Christmas Eve tradition that while Larry and Arlene, of course, would go out for Chinese and a movie, the kids would sleep over with Grandma and Grandpa, with Sally and Don. And she had a quite interesting tradition. You shared with me that on Christmas Eve night, Grandma Sally hung a stocking up for each of the kids. Not a Christmas stocking. She hung a pair of her nylon pantyhose. And while you were asleep, Grandma Sally filled it with an orange, with animal crackers, Play-Doh, maybe a little toy. She just loved doing anything that she could for you, making you guys feel so good, knowing how much she loved each and every one of you. And in addition to Thanksgiving and that special time together, you shared with me that just this past weekend, Hudson visited Gigi and gave her a big, great big hug. And no one will ever forget all those times that the great-grandkids hugged and kissed and loved and spent time with their Gigi. She was a balabusta. We already heard what an amazing cook that she was. And her baking, those checkerboard cakes, as you said, which you still carry on, she made them the traditional style. Now in the next generation, you make them a little bit more colorful and flavorful. But it's beautiful that you're carrying on the tradition. Sally was a woman who had her routines. Her week was set by her card games, her friends, her volunteering. For more than 30 years, you heard she volunteered at Hillcrest Hospital, working the gift shop and taking the cart all around the floors of the hospital. She loved her time at the daycare at True Sisters and delivering Meals on Wheels. Though you got her computer so many years ago, she always preferred her good old typewriter. Except that on the computer, she could play games, she could tell Bob to put her on Facebook, and also to shop. She loved her crossword puzzles. Sally was a bit superstitious. She would only go into the kitchen one way and out the kitchen the other way. She'd never walk under a ladder. And one time while growing up, Larry had burnt his eyes playing in a construction site. And Sally made a deal. She told God that she would light Shabbos candles every Friday night if Larry was okay. And guess what? She lit Shabbos candles every Friday night. And when Bob choked on a carrot that one time, she made a pledge that every Friday night she'd keep kosher, she wouldn't eat pork. And guess what? Bob was okay. She didn't eat pork on Friday night. She kept kosher for that Shabbos dinner. She always held up her end of the bargain. Though she never thought she'd get sick and old, she'd say, "I'm still young. I might just look old." You shared with me that after an incredibly long, beautiful life, the last number of years have been difficult for Sally. Macular degeneration, hearing loss, congestive heart failure, difficulty walking. It was hard, especially since her mind was so sharp. And she knew what she couldn't do. These tough 5 years, though, allowed her to have more time with each and every one of you. She did get nachas. You gave her so much joy and pride, most especially to see that next generation grow up and to be with her and to see what she and Don had built together. Sally will be missed by family and friends. She's returned home in peace. We can rejoice in her good name, in her love, her spirit, her poems, and her life. We will always remember her. She's back with her beloved Don and all those who have gone before. May Sally's name always bring blessings, and we say, Amen. At this point, I'll call up Cantor Schiffman for the memorial prayer.
Please rise. El male rachamim, shochen bameramim, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות הקדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת שרה בת יוסף שלחה לעולמם בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים הסתיריה בצדק כנפיך לעולמים וצרור וצרור החיים ונשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר אמן.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of our beloved Sarah, Sally Turbow, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May she merit a reward for living life with righteousness, kindness, and love. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life, and may she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following the service, burial will take place at Zion Memorial Park. Then the family will be receiving friends at their home at Arlene and Larry's home, 51 West Stonebrook Drive in Orange. Today, following services and burial until 4 p.m., and then resuming tonight from 6 to 8 with a minyan at 7 o'clock. Again, today until 4, and then 6 to 8 with a minyan service at 7. They'll also be sitting Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. with the minyan at 7 p.m. Those who wish may contribute in Sally's memory to the American Heart Association or the American Cancer Society.